Alright, so picking up the last video with talking about B.P.R.D. Omnibus, Volume 8. Our talking stories, now about the issues, basically, according to the B.P.R.D. legacy numbering. I love doing these things. So, Devil's Wings, that is actually issues 120 and 121. The Broken Equation, that is 122 and 123. Grind is 124. Let's see. Flesh and Stone is issues 125 to 129. Yes, a 5-parter. Exorcism, that is issues 95 and 97. You're like, really? Yeah, really. And next, Exorcism. The Exorcist. Let me take a look at that one here. Let's see here. The Exorcist. Here we go. That is issues 140 and 140 to 142, which is, little fun fact, this actually is the second to last of the Hell on Earth stories when it comes to B.P.R.D. And I can't confirm this. The next volume will finish up the Hell on Earth saga. This saga for this book started with issue number I have to scroll back here with this one. It started with issue 69. Yes. And that is how far back basically this started with. And it did not conclude until 147. So this went on for almost the entire series. Yes. And a lot of these stories are basically not big epic scale stories like they were in the previous volume. These are small scale stories. First up is Devil's Wings. Devil's Wings is unofficially B.P.R.D. in the year 1949. It is a story set in this period of time before, years before present day. This whole story is a flashback. Yes, the first story here is a flashback where well, kind of anyways. Basically, apparently, like, this is while the craziness across the planet. So at BPD headquarters, stuff is being converted into digital stuff, and then we get a flashback to 1949 about some stuff. And Hellboy is there, a very young Hellboy. Yes, this is during the early days, the B.P.R.D. You could say this flashback story is kind of the story that this is something I never really understood about the B.P.R.D. series. This is like, they never had a story called 1949 like it did with 1946 and 1948. The Hellboy and B.P.R.D. series covers time period of 1950 to I think it was 1957, I believe it was, yes. But this short story here, this Devil's Wings, which is a 2-part story, is unofficially 1949. It is basically a story where Hellboy is here, which I believe this actually was referenced in the very first Hellboy and B.P.R.D. Story arc for that series. Yes, this quick 2-part story is referenced there. It's a fun little excursion, like, and of course you have come back to present day with a Black Hawk helicopter here. And of course, basically, Hellboy goes on a little rampage, and, well, yeah, and then basically wrap a little story there. Broken Equation. Yes, this particular story it's like another 2-parter. Yes, but the way this thing, it does not break up the chapters like it did previous volume for some reason. They said, well, this is one complete story. This, I think, this covers roughly 2 issues. Not really sure why. It just, that's kind of this book is published. So this shows John, where he is basically trying to deal with these things that popped up in Japan. Yeah, because the whole thing of Hell on Earth is basically demons, like demons and monsters, sprouting up all over the planet, causing chaos all over the place. And B.P.R.D. being a bit overwhelmed and basically some of their struggles. This is basically them in Japan. And it's definitely a good thing a year prior to the events of this whole thing that they became a UN affiliate. That's how they were able to go to these countries. Yes. And of course there's some monsters here for this little story here. And also fighting a sort of kaiju who pops up near in Japan. And they're trying to stop it with frickin' tanks. Does it work? Yeah, then of course this creature deals with this, whatever this giant tree thing is, pulls it out by the roots. Actually, so it eats it. Yes, eats it. And just battles this stuff here. And that next time is a standalone story called Grind. This is mostly put another story focus on John. This one's in, if you're really curious, where the heck is this? We have basically a monster that pops up in this small town. Yeah, of course you have this B.P.R.D. scientist stopping because it's like he just saw him just yesterday. Yes. Well, this is kind of like a bit of like, yeah, the guy has this stuff going on, he's trying to clean it up. So this is like a cleanup story, which also has a small battle deal with another monster. Yeah, it's a quick one-shot story here, which ends with him being infected with whatever this stuff is. And then comes Flesh and Stone. This one actually is separated with the 5 chapters. Yep. You have the guy with the sword preparing battle with where are they at here? It's like you're in the woods someplace in the US. And of course we have these creatures still pop up here. And then we have the Black Flame show up here too. Yes, he plays a very small role in the Flesh and Stone story arc. And you're probably thinking when this is going on, like, where the heck is Abe Sapien? Well, you don't need to ask where Hellboy is because he's dead. But Abe Sapien, I think he's doing his own thing in his own spin-off book. That's the reason why he's not here. Yeah, after early on, they just... I guess Mike, because he had the... I guess this is my theory from Mike Mignola. The reason why Abe Sapien is not featured as much as in the Hell on Earth stuff is because he's doing his own stuff in his own spin-off title. That's simply the reason for it. I think I admit, this is a really fun story, basically, with it. It doesn't exactly like it doesn't feel like an event story. It feels like very small scale. It's like these are the small scale stories. And of course, the girl in the jar pops up again here after appearing in the previous set of issues. Yeah. And this is by far the longest arc of this whole trade. Yes, there's lots of action here. We have some more demons show up here. John is basically like... Actually, Black Flame is being manipulated by the girl in the jar. And... Liz is basically with some people who work for B.P.R.D, not the regular agents. They basically hang out preparing for the next battle. And then we have the exorcism and then... Now, basically, this whole thing is, well, it starts out with East Africa in 1890, excuse me. Basically, the story here is basically Mike Mignola's take on the exorcism. That's mostly put exactly what this particular issue is. That's, yeah. We have someone here who's like Linda Blair, for her character from the movie. Really interesting here. We have the battle of the demon here. And this leads into the Exorcist quick little two-parter, where it's essentially put a follow-up to it, except this stuff was in the present day, not in the past. And that's, yeah, it's a quick little two-parter here. I'm thinking that's it. Actually, a three-parter. Let me take a quick look here for Exorcism. Okay, The Exorcist. This is actually 3 parts. Yeah, 3 parts. Mm-hmm. Yep, and the story is wrapped up here with this one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, deal with the demon after exorcise the demon and do what happens next. Yep, and that's it. Really good book here. Give it roughly a 10 out of 10. Next up we have is Sir Edward Grey, Witchfinder Omnibus, Volume 2. And the stories in here are issues, technically, for the legacy issues 16 through 30. And there's the cover for it. Yep. Story by Mike Manoli and Chris Robinson. Art by Ben Serbach, Disrael, and Christopher Mitten. Cover up Ben Serbach and Dave Stewart. The stories in this one are City of the Dead, Gates of Heaven, Reign of Darkness, and The Great Blizzard. And each of these are basically like... So, City of the Dead is from issue 1620. Gates of Heaven is 2125. Reign of Darkness is the final 5 issues of the series. And those of you curious, though, what about The Great Blizzard? That is a short story from the Hellboy Winter Special 2017. That's mostly put exactly what this is. It's actually shorter than... It's a little bit shorter than the Omnibus just covered here. So, City of the Dead is mostly put just... basically Sir Grey, where he... Yeah, basically at this point, it's not like... Yeah, no longer finding supernatural. It's more like going on, like he's like a Victorian era version of Indiana Jones a little bit here. We deal with a course basically about the rise up here, and basically it's like, yeah, battling what appears to be a version of zombies here, which really cool here. And each of these dark recaptures of the Great Blizzard are all 5-parters. Yes, 5-parters. Him just finding more stuff historically, and excuse me, but yeah, it leads into stuff with vampires. Yes, vampires. And if you're really curious, like, what happens after the story wraps up? Well, next is Gates of Heaven, which is basically a story that has 2 jailers. By the way, in 1884. He let this series started chronologically with the year of 1879, and now we're basically about 6 years into this timeline, which makes us set before the exorcism story arc that was shown in B.P.R.D. roughly 6 years prior to that. Yeah. Of course, investigating more dead bodies. Of course, meet with Queen Victoria. And there's a werewolf up here where you can see what looks like to be him stumbling across coming across a weapons factory, like they're preparing for war. And there's still like a little bit Egyptian iconography here for this one. This one doesn't feel like the supernatural stuff basically this book was supposed to be known for, except feels like just action adventure stuff. Yeah, it's like whatever premise basically the book had when the book started. It's like Mike just dropped it from the book. It's like he's supposed to be fighting supernatural stuff. Here he just deals with like modern. Of course, there's a monster fight happening in this story here. But yeah, very self-contained, and it does wrap up with, of course, chapter 5, with him basically with the blimps fighting all these monsters. And then lead to Reign of Darkness, which is the final story arc of the series. This is mostly put just him investigating, stuff per se. But in case you're curious though, does this book ever go to 1889? No, he does not. Yeah, mostly put Reign of Darkness as just him investigating some church group, basically some small occultist group, and that's kind of it here. So kind of a bit of it's an okay ending to this series. And what about the Great Blizzard? Is basically him fighting off a blizzard. Yeah, it's a short story here set in 1891, set after that flashback story. It is mostly put where Gray is basically dealing with a snowstorm, and that's it. Yep, that's it. Witchfinder series is really good. But I give the Omnibus here roughly a 9 out of 10. Final thoughts on the Witchfinder series. Yeah, that's another book I got through real quickly because there's only 2 Omnibus books this one. Excuse me. It definitely has a good premise with it too. Like, I like the early stuff with the book. This part here felt like basically like you're probably thinking like, was Mike running out of ideas with this book? I don't think so. No. By the way, for these last 3 story arcs, so in the case of the start of this came roughly almost 2 years after the previous story arc wrapped up, and then we had Gates of Heaven. By the way, it starts from release from August 31st, 2016, concluded December 28th, 2016. Gates of Heaven started 1 year and 5 months later, roughly 17 months later, and it was 5 parts, obviously. It started from May 23rd, 2018, concluded December 19th, 2018. And then for the final story arc of the series, it came 1 year and 2 months later. But it was concluded on March 25th, 2020. And yes, I do know there's actually a one-shot and a mini-series that actually came out right after this. I have a chance to read it. I don't think the trade paperback's been released for that one. Let's see. So, Serpent in the Garden, Evergreen, and Last of England, that actually isn't coming in September. Yeah, in the case of the Akron one-shot, that was actually collected in Cushion Hell. Yeah. But, I guess overall, really good. So, with Witchfinder completely reviewed, since I finished with this one. So, what's next? Frankenstein. Yes, Mike Mignola published a Frankenstein books in this universe, and that's what's going to replace Witchfinder. That's next. This one, 2 volumes, and then done, and be done the same time as the B.P.R.D. omnibuses, which I replaced with Hellboy and B.P.R.D., which that won't last for long. I'm basically going to keep going here until I run out of the Hellboy universe stuff. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to notifications. Next up, case closed. Okay, thanks you. Bye.